Hi, welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. The counterinsurgency continues. Remember, we are the invading force. The world is under the rule of hostile forces. The rightful king has landed. We are part of a counterinsurgency move to take back the possession of the earth for its rightful king. So welcome to the underground. Welcome to the insurgency. Welcome to the revolution. Now, speaking of how toxic this whole issue and how toxic President Obama is, remember, we've got Democrats all over the place. They don't want to be seen anywhere around President Obama. They don't want him campaigning for them. They don't even want him in the same state with them. We've seen this over and over again. Mary Landrieu, for instance, flew down to Louisiana on Air Force One with President Obama. He had a campaign event down there, or an event, a public event, and she just disappeared. Got off the plane, disappeared. She didn't want to be anywhere around. She didn't want her picture taken with him. She didn't want a photo op with him. She didn't want nothing to do with Barack Obama. Here's John King, CNN. This is clip 15. So again, this is part of the Obama press corps. This is a part of his press office. These are the people that issue his press releases and flack and hack for his agenda. John King tumbling to this finally. It's gotten so bad that even mainstream media types like CNN are waking up and smelling the napalm. Let's listen.
Is the president. And we know he's not welcome in Kentucky. We know he's not welcome in Arkansas. I could list the other key states. But he is in Washington to a lot of events that he says will help frame the agenda. He gave a big speech to Democrats on Friday where he said, I'm going to frame the agenda. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to raise money. Here's my fundamental question. Yes, Democrats have him to raise money. They have this technology example, but they also have this. Midterm elections are about the president. His approval rating in the New York Times poll this week, 41%. How do you feel about the economy and how the president's handling it? Disapprove, 57%. Is the country on the right track or the wrong track? 63% wrong track. If you're the Democrats, I know it's only March, but you have to look at those numbers and think we're about to get thumped.
So that's John King, CNN. Democrats about to get thumped in November. So take heart, ladies and gentlemen. Last chapter in this whole sorry episode has not yet been written. And here's David Axelrod, clip number 4. He's a Democrat strategist. Number to call, by the way, is 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840, number to call. Here's David Axelrod. Basically, he admits, look, there is no way to dress this thing up. We had a caller, John, listen to NPR all day today. They've stayed away from that Florida thing. They've avoided it like it's the bubonic plague, because they just don't want to talk about it, because there is nothing. There is no silver lining. There's no tin lining. There's no bronze lining. There is no lead lining in that thing. It's just all gloom, doom, bad news for the Democrats on Obamacare. And here's David Axelrod trying to do his best, clip 4, put a spin on this thing.
On the Obamacare issue, there's no doubt that I think Jeremy Peters had it right. It motivated the Republican base. Independent voters by 25 points or more supported Alex Sink's position on mending it and not ending it. So I think that, and I think the notion that Democrats can just walk away from that position is that never ever works. So we're going to have to fight it out on that. We're going to have to fight it out on that issue. But the real challenge is, how do we get base voters, young people, minorities out in a general election,
but David,
in a midterm election?
So that's David Axelrod saying, look, we're stuck. I mean, I think you heard what Axelrod said. We got to fight it out on Obamacare. We don't have a choice. We can't dump it. So he's basically saying there's no chance the Democrats are going to repeal this thing. There's no chance, of course, that they're going to impeach President Obama. So I said, we have just got to fight it out. We're in bad shape. If we don't get minorities, we don't get the base out. Remember, we've seen these political analysts. They've looked at polling trends, voting trends, past elections. You get a midterm election, president's second term, his party stays home, especially if they are completely unenthused about the political landscape. So the question is, how do you get minorities? Here's clip number 3. This is President Obama speaking to a Latino town hall. This is actually from last week, but basically he insults his Latino audience. This is not how you get minorities to vote for you. Let's listen.
I guess what I would say is, if you looked at that person's budget and you looked at their cable bill, their telephone, their cell phone bill, other things that they're spending on, it may turn out that it's just they haven't prioritized healthcare, because right now everybody's healthy. Nobody actually wants to spend money on health insurance until they get sick. And then once they're sick, the costs of not having health insurance are a lot worse than the costs of having health insurance.
So that's President Obama, and, he's saying you don't want to wait till you get sick to buy insurance. Well, under Obamacare, you can. I mean, that is the whole point of guaranteed issue. That's the whole point of it being illegal under Obamacare for any insurance company to turn you down for a pre-existing condition. The parallel is you can wrap your car around a tree and you can wait till you do it, and then you can go to the auto insurance company the next day and you can say, I wrapped my car around a tree. I want to buy comprehensive collision insurance, and I want you to total my car and write me a check for a brand new car. And the parallel would be the auto insurance company has to do it. They don't have a choice. They cannot take into account pre-existing conditions. So President Obama says, look, you can afford it. You're just spending too much money. You're not managing your money well. You can cut corners. You can get this thing done. And believe me, you won't regret it if you do. So that doesn't seem to me that that's how you are going to get your base to turn out, get minority votes. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Now, here is what President Obama has done. I'm going to lay this out for you, then we'll go to the phones. It's from the Wall Street Journal this morning. This is breaking news. You're probably not even going to hear this anywhere. This ought to be the lead story on every news broadcast in the country. Wall Street Journal broke this story this morning. Obama, the latest casualty in the battle over the Affordable Care Act is the individual mandate, to wit, last week, the administration quietly excused millions of people from the requirement to purchase health insurance or else pay a tax penalty. The latest political reconstruction has received zero media notice, and the Health and Human Services Department didn't think the details were worth discussing in a conference call, press materials, or fact sheet. Instead, the mandate suspension was buried in an unrelated rule that was meant to preserve some health plans that don't comply with Obamacare benefit and redistribution mandates. Our sources only noticed the change this week. That 7-page technical bulletin includes a paragraph and a footnote that casually mention that a rule in a separate December 2013 bulletin would be extended for 2 more years until 2016 after Obama's out of office and somebody else is going to be left to clean up the mess. That's the idea. It allows Americans whose coverage was canceled to opt out of the mandate altogether. And I won't bore you with the details. I'll go back to 2013. But the agency, HHS, created a new category of hardship exemption last week. Now all you need to do is fill out a form attesting that your plan was canceled and that you believe that the plan options available in Obamacare Marketplace are more expensive than your canceled health insurance policy, or you consider other available policies unaffordable. Now, it's a lax standard. There's no formula. There is no hard test beyond just a person's own subjective belief about the situation they're in. But listen to this. People can also qualify for hardships for the unspecified non-reason, quote, that you experienced another hardship in obtaining health insurance, which only requires documentation if possible. So all you got to do is say, yeah, I had another hardship. You don't have to even say what it was. You don't even have to document. You can just say it, and you get out of the individual mandate. Another waiver is available to those who say they are merely unable to afford coverage. So in other words, this is the takeaway. These shifting legal benchmarks offer an exemption to everyone who conceivably wants one. So everybody now gets an exemption from the Obamacare mandate, the individual mandate, if they want one. Nobody now has to buy insurance or pay a penalty. Nobody. They don't even have to have documentation for it. So in other words, this is gutted Obamacare. Because remember, Obamacare, we were told over and over again, the only way this thing can work is because of the mandate. That's why we've got to have it in there. We know that people won't buy these these plans. They're bloated. They have all kinds of treatments in them people don't want to pay for, wouldn't pay for. They're expensive. The premiums are high. The copays are high. The deductibles are through the roof. People aren't going to buy these things unless we make them do it under penalty, under the threat of penalty. We've got to fine them or throw them in prison. That's the only way we're going to get people to cooperate. And now President Obama has gotten rid of that. It doesn't exist. That mandate, remember John Roberts rewrote the law to call that mandate a tax so we could find some way to declare it constitutional. So nobody's writing about this. Nobody's talking about this. It's a secret thing, snuck it into a 7-page technical brief, but there it is. President Obama has just gutted his own Obamacare bill. Let's go to the phones. Let's grab one from Harold in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Harold, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I have some. I won't make my comments about what you were just talking about because my cardiologist said I can't talk about Obamacare anymore.
I understand.
My blood pressure gets too high.
Man, we don't want to have anybody have cardiac infarction on air. That's not something we want here at Focal Point.
So anyway, I was going to just follow up with what you were talking about a while ago on impeachment. I think impeachment is too good for President Obama. I think he needs to be tried for treason. And I think that if they would get after the business and do it, they could find plenty to try him on. And I think he should lose his pension. I think he should lose Secret Service. I think he should do jail time. I think Eric Holder should be right there with him. But having said that, I was wondering if I haven't heard anything on AFR, but I heard something on another Christian show yesterday about the rockets that Israel uncovered on a container on a ship from Iran.
Yeah.
And, of course, we're not going to hear anything on the secular media about that, but I just am curious of your thoughts on that. And I think that it's sad that we have a Secretary of State and a president that are so anti-Israel. And this is prime evidence of why Israel should not budge. I think they ought to tell us just to go pound sand, actually. I mean, the way we've treated them. But I just want to get your comments on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I appreciate that, Harold. Thank you for that. Yeah, and I've got a story in the stack here somewhere. Israel intercepted a ship with a bunch of missiles that was headed for the Gaza Strip, headed for Hamas, all coming from Iran, and Israel intercepted them. So that situation is a long way from being settled. Israel deploying the Iron Dome defense because they've got to find some way to shoot these missiles out of the air because they're coming to Hamas from Iran, which is a bad actor over in the Middle East. Focal Point AFR Talk. We'll be right back. Stay with us.